Good morning. Welcome to Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton. It's a blessing to have you on. We've had some great comments from people who are watching our podcast, broadcast, whatever you want to call it. And I want to thank you for your questions. I want to thank you for your comments. We've been doing most of the question and answer offline, one-on-one. We're right now, not that many people are asking difficult questions. I had somebody ask a question about the business transaction that they had gone through, and we'll be addressing that in short order. But today I want to talk to you about the value of consistency, the value of faithfulness, the value of accountability, and the value of responsibility. Everywhere I look, people want to get paid for not being accountable, not being responsible, not being faithful, and not being consistent. They want to be able to just do a one-off job, throw in the work, and then work whenever they want, and all of that. But as we go through life, if you really want to be a problem solver, if you really want to be of service, then you've got to train to be available. You've got to be trained to be strong when called upon, and you've got to be trained to be ready when the time comes. When I teach, a lot of times I say, I'm not teaching you for just everyday life. I'm teaching you for the day of adversity. And the day of adversity comes to me almost every day, not in my own life, but I'm ready on a regular basis when something goes awry, maybe for my dad or my sisters, my brothers. Maybe something goes awry for one of my congregation members or a friend of a friend sometimes even. And you've got to be ready to be there for that person if you want to be. If you're the type of person who really could care less, then I'm not talking to you. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you want to be faithful and you want to be consistent and you want to be prepared to be the go-to person, to be the first call. When I was raising my daughter, Danielle, she's 30 now. She has a son who I'm babysitting. I'm in her house right now. And it's not really babysitting. I'm the grandfather, and I get to spend time with him. But when I was raising Danielle, I used to tell her all the time, I trust you. You make good decisions. But on top of that, I used to tell her all the time, no matter what happens, if you do make a bad decision or if you do find yourself in a troubled situation, I'm thinking high school or junior high or even college age, I want to be your first phone call. I don't want you to be afraid to call me. I don't want you to think I'm going to come down hard in some kind of judgmental or disciplinary fashion. I want to be the go-to person. Now you can say that, but if you don't ready yourself for it, you got to ready yourself physically. You got to be strong enough to maybe stay up all night, maybe stay up a couple of days. So you got to be strong enough for that. So you got to be well rested. You got to be in shape. You can't be weak. You got to be strong. And then you've got to be mentally ready. You've got to be of the mindset, again, not to be judgmental, but to come into a situation that's not always your situation. And you have to be mentally prepared to bring peace, to bring a confident calm. And that's a choice that you make. I'm going to prepare physically. I don't know what necessarily I'm preparing for, but I'm going to be strong for the day. As I go through life, I've struggled with weight. And so my family is always concerned that, the weight that I've had on my body is going to hinder me in the future. So in recent months, I've lost 40 pounds and I plan to lose another 40 pounds, maybe more. And so the idea is, why am I doing that? I'm not really doing it for myself, but I'm doing it for my grandson. I'm doing it for my daughter. I'm doing it for those that are going to call upon me. I'm doing it for my dad so that I can be there for him in the future. And even today, I'm stronger. I'm lighter on my feet. I'm able to do things. And I say that to you. A lot of us aren't motivated, especially those of us who are caretakers. We don't take good care of ourselves. And then what happens is we eventually break down and we can't take care of others. So you have to train physically to be able to be faithful, to be consistent, to be responsible, to be accountable, to be called upon in that troubled time. It's a blessing to be that person, to be there for somebody. Again, if you don't like being that person, then I'm not talking to you. But if you want to be that person for your children, you want to be that person for your spouse, you want to be that person for your friends, then you need to train to it. You need to get in shape. You need to exercise. You need to sleep well. You need to eat well. All right. Then mentally, you've got to make these decisions. You got to train to it as well. You got to stay well read. You got to stay. And the reason for that is you want to have an objectivity about you. You want to read different sides of the story because people will come to you with a side of the story, right? They'll come to you with their side of the story, and you always have to, which happens for you if you are well read, if you stay in trying to understand or see through the eyes of somebody else, the author in this case, you have to be able to always step back and be able to say, well, there's more to this story. There's more to this story, because to be responsible, to be accountable, to be faithful, to be consistent is also to be truthful and fair. Truthful and fair. So you want to stay in a mindset where you're training your ability to see a situation where, and this brings us to the next area you need to train in, where your emotions, your sympathy for this person, your sympathy for a close friend, a parent, don't cause you to overreact or crowd your mind with, well, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You know, in the case of a caretaker at a hospital, or the case of if you come in and you have to settle a grievance between two friends or two spouses, a married couple. And so emotionally, you have to prepare yourself to be relaxed emotionally, and being mentally prepared really helps. It's hard to be emotionally balanced if you're out of shape physically, and it's hard to be emotionally balanced if you don't have a true sense of fairness or objectivity. So you got to train to it. You got to be able to see somebody else's perspective, and you got to be able to think about why they think the way they do. And a lot of times what will happen for you when you're striving towards faithfulness, you're striving towards consistency, and you're striving towards responsible, and you're striving towards accountable, you'll find that other people aren't striving towards those things. And that'll reveal itself early on in any kind of request for help or any kind of encounter that you may have with people. But that also helps you to be strong, decision-making wise, when it comes to how you're going to spend your time. If that person is not also striving for that faithfulness, consistency, accountability, responsibility, it's easy to not take that assignment. You don't have to, every time somebody asks me for help, you know, I'm not always the right cover for that pot. I'm not that person. I may not be the problem solver for them, but this training helps me to determine that. So then emotionally, because I've trained mentally to be objective, and because I've trained physically to be strong and healthy, then I can be emotionally a little bit, detached. I'm not bringing my emotions to it, and I'm not getting overly swayed by their emotions. Now, again, to be consistent, relational, responsible, and accountable, you move into the area of your relationships. Because, as I like to say, we're all called to do something great, but we cannot do it alone. Another one-liner I use on a regular basis is the answer to every question is a person. And when I realize that when somebody comes to me in a troubled situation, or they're going through something, and they're asking me for help, and I want to be helpful, I want to be faithful, I want to be available, I want to be consistent, that I have to have friendships that I've developed socially. I have to have relationships. I have to have phone numbers of people that are talented, that are experts in certain areas, whether it's the law, whether it's in medicine, law enforcement, whether it's education, real estate, whatever that resource is that I might need to help the person that's calling on me. I want to have a warm, easy to pick up the phone and make a phone call. And the way that you have that is by being faithful in between the days of adversity, meaning you keep those relationships warm. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? How may I serve you? What's going on with you? It's that consistent, proactive touch. It's that consistent, proactive decision that you make to train physically, mentally, emotionally, then socially. You've got to continually nurture and feed your relationships if you want them to be there, and if you want to be a person who is truly strong. None of us are really strong by ourselves. You know, there's a really important understanding that the strength of our lives is in the strength of our friendships and in the strength of our marriages and in the strength of our relationships with our children. Because if those things are out of whack, you really can't be called upon to do bigger things. And so I've walked you through the physical, the mental, emotional, now the social. Then we go to the financial. You don't want to be all over the place financially so that you're strapped, and so that you're actually the person who's probably usually looking for help, right? So you want to be a good steward of your money. You want to think about how you can be faithful with your money, how you can be responsible, accountable, consistent. I always tell people to try to live on 70% of what comes in, and then save 20%, and then give 10% away. It's very important that you begin to save or invest that 20%. And over time, you'll see that that will give you a real solid, responsible, and faithful foundation. So I wanted to share some of these things with you today to get you to think about, I want to be faithful. You want to say that out loud. You want to say, I want to be faithful. You know, today we don't talk about faithfulness. We don't talk about accountability, responsibility, but we need to raise our children. We need to hold our friends accountable to this. I find that my group of friends are very responsible, but that's kind of who I run with. I'm not running with people that are irresponsible with their health. As a matter of fact, my friends are always reminding me to be more responsible with my health. They're always reminding me, they're challenging me to be more objective, more balanced emotionally. They're challenging me to stay in contact even more often. And so I'm blessed to have those types of friends, but that's what you want to look for in your friendships. That's what you want to look for in your relationships, because you want to have that iron sharpening iron. You want to have those people in your life who you respect, and they respect you. They expect faithfulness from you. They expect accountability from you. And then from time to time, they're inspecting your life. They see you, they watch you, they observe you, they have eyes to see, they have experiences and education, and they have developed themselves to be able to hold you accountable and keep you faithful. So I'm telling you today, let's be faithful. Let's be ready. The phone is going to ring. Someone's going to call on you if you're ready. You'll walk right by maybe one of the biggest opportunities to bless somebody if you're not prepared to be faithful today, prepared to be consistent today. Thanks for tuning in to Morning Motivations. I hope this helped you today. You are a blessing to me. Reach out to me with your questions and we'll get back to you. God bless you. Have an awesome day.